good evening Bible study group on Facebook, YouTube, wherever this Bible study gets shared. Sincerely, I hope everybody's okay. There's always lots of issues that we have in our life, prayer requests and things like that. But when I say it, I honestly mean it, because I have struggled on things. I know that you have, and some people do. And when they watch this video, there's a struggle they're going through, and I totally understand. Part of what the church's job is to pray for those who are in need and intercede, and that's what we do. Christian group that I'm associated with, I'm a moderator and admin over at the Born Again group on Facebook. This is mainly for you, but I leave these open to the public. This is not just a private Bible study. I leave it open to the public, and then it gets shared over to our group. So that's absolutely for a reason. There's a lot of moving things happening besides what's in the sky. And, you know, there are some important things that God is doing, but everybody has their boots on the ground, and they're seeing what's going on our earth without seeing what God is doing. And so my objective tonight is to give you a few headlines, and then we're going to take a look at what God's doing in the scriptures, and then maybe, Lord willing, it'll make a little more sense by the time we're finished. And Debbie, good to see you, sister. Thank you very much for coming on. Always good to see you. I know that some of the group starts to come in after these Bible studies start rolling, so it's really nice. I watch comments. I see what everybody's saying. Sometimes I will come back and review the questions or comments as well. So I like to do that. I don't know about you, but I'm kind of droned out, like the drones flying around all over the place. I mean, does it not wear you out? And here's the crazy thing. I don't even live in a state where there's a lot of drone activity. Let's talk about this drone topic just for a little while, then we're going to move to something else, okay? And then we're going to look at Proverbs chapter 6. So it'll be like in 3 sections tonight. I'm droned out. I don't know about the rest of you. I feel sorry for some of you that are having to live in these metropolitan cities, or maybe you live near Washington, D.C., or a military base somewhere, and you have somebody like John Kirby telling you this is all normal when you've lived there for years and you know what normal looks like. And then all of a sudden, 2 months ago, there is this really abnormal increase in drone activity, and you see all of these really large and enormous drones flying around with Christmas lights all over them. And then some of you are also seeing paranormal activity. It's not drones, it's actually fallen angels that are masquerading themselves as UFOs. And so you're seeing both. I keep telling everybody that in these Bible studies and prophecy updates, that this is not just a one-trick pony thing that's going on in the world. There is an increase in deception, UFO activity, and then the drones, which we can categorize as UAP, unidentified aerial phenomenon, which is nothing more than a man-made flying something. Okay, so I'm going to do this. I'm going to drop this article in the chat room. This year, more than ever, now theendbegins.com has been one of my go-tos for news, prophetic news, and they have great Bible studies. There was a good one on last night. Recommend that one. Also, I do want to mention something really fast too, since it's Christmas time. If you're in the mood to give, their free Bible program for the prisoners, like prisons all over the nation have been coming to nowtheendbegins.com for help to get Bibles to the inmates. And so I always consider this low-hanging fruit. People that are incarcerated for years, maybe they'll never get out. Some of them get out in 15, 20 years. They got nothing to do, right? And so getting a Bible into these inmates' hands is an absolutely incredible opportunity to store up treasures in heaven for yourself, for the Bema seat at the judgment seat of Christ. God will remember every good thing that you've done, and this is the article that I'm going to talk about for a few minutes. This was posted today. But then I'll give you this donate button here. If anybody's in a Christmas spirit, I don't know if that's the right one to say, but a Christmas mood, if you're in a Christmas mood and you want to throw a little bit over there, for this program. This is a good program. It's thewaygiver.com, and their campaign number is 1486. So that'll go to the Bibles Behind Bars program. I am going to, as time goes forward here, we're living in the fig tree generation, I'm going to myself start contributing my time to the senior centers, retirement homes, and rest homes and rehab places, things like that. I was when I started working in the hospital when I was in college, that was one of the things that I did when I was studying to be a radiologist. That career got cut short because it was too expensive for me. But one of the things that I did, they asked me what I wanted to do with the hospital. Did I want to volunteer in the radiology emergency room? And I knew as if this was going to be my career, that was coming. And I thought to myself, no, I would rather visit the patients if that's okay. So I had a really nice experience visiting people that were recovering and sick and everything like that. And this was in Spokane, Washington, Sacred Heart Hospitals, where I volunteered for quite a while. And it was a lot of fun. So I have that in me to go and visit. And so I feel like beside the prison ministry, another ministry that's really amazing as well is the retirement centers, because those old folks, a lot of them have been abandoned and they have nobody. Their adult children don't visit them. They don't have anybody. And so wouldn't that be a nice thing to come in as a Christian, sit down, pray with them, read some Bible stories with them, and just fellowship with them, and not look down on them, but respect them and ask them how they're doing, if they're okay. And if they're not doing okay, let them talk. It's a good thing. And so that's what's on my heart for next year. So with that said, you're welcome, Debbie. And it's that's like a thing. That's a soft place in my heart, for people that are, because my mom was there and I got a firsthand experience of it, and it was, it was rough. And so yeah, there is really, really good opportunities for anybody to do that. But, sadly to say, when we're in Proverbs chapter 6 tonight, oh, well, this is going to be a good topic tonight, okay? Several things. I pulled out some prophetic stuff in Proverbs chapter 6, and also something else for the church too. So, but let's look at this whole drone thing, okay? I'm going to skim through this article really fast, and then I'm going to play a clip for you, okay? And I think that over there at Now the End Begins, they have got their finger on what's happening with these drones. And if you missed the Bible study the other day, I'm not going to spend a lot of time talking about it because, like I said, I'm droned out. But I will read a little bit of this article with you. It's like, picture this, okay? You've got warnings from the government saying, whatever you do, don't shoot these things down. They're a felony and all of that, okay? Which they're right. You don't want to do that. But I'm thoroughly convinced, and this ministry over there is convinced, and a lot of others are convinced, that the government knows what's going on and they're allowing it to happen. So it would be like an example, okay? I have a parrot. Let me give you the parrot example of this. Okay, I got a bird, I got a parrot, and I've got 2 dogs, okay? Well, the dogs are laying in their dog beds and stuff, and they're just kicking back, minding their own business. And my bird, what he'll do when I'm not watching him is he'll go on these little field trips, and he'll climb down off of his cage, and he shimmies on over into the other room when I'm not around. And, I might walk by a hallway and I see these little shavings on the floor, and he's been chewing on my dresser drawer. And I'm like, little rascal, he got away from me, But anyway, this morning, I heard the dogs barking, not growling, but barking and nipping and well, I went in there and he's going like this at him, okay? He's flapping his wings and trying to chase him around the room. and they're minding their own business and they're annoyed by this bird trying to bite them, okay? So imagine these drones, right? And you're being harassed by these drones every single day. Does it turn you from a rational person into an irrational person? And so what I'm saying is the government's on one hand saying, don't shoot these drones down, obviously for good reasons, because, you have a lot of knuckleheads out there that are probably shooting at something that they shouldn't, a passenger plane or a manned aircraft or something that's legal. And they're thinking in their mind it's some ominous drone. Well, we don't know. We live in a crazy society. So what they are advising is correct. But imagine that the government knows that they're performing a psyop on our public, and they're letting it happen, and then they're telling you you're not allowed to do anything about it, okay? So people are getting frustrated by this, and it's not fun. This article, the drone sightings are a psyop from our government. How long will it last? And when will it claim its first victim? The clock is ticking. I am droned out, so I'm not going to be on this subject very long, and then we're going to move forward. Because I want to, and I talked about the flying scroll the other day before yesterday, that in Zechariah, that God used what I saw a description of these drones as a flying scroll, talking about it being a curse. And they fly around, and God says, this is the curse that goes over the whole earth. And so you see this drone activity is not just in America, it's everywhere now, okay? And I can't, I'm not in every single country, but I mean, honestly, it's in Germany, it's in some other important countries. I saw, like, in Italy, I saw videos of that in Italy, I saw it in Russia, and some other areas of the world too, where it's just spreading, okay? Mysterious drones have been hovering in the skies above New Jersey and other states in the Northwest for weeks, alarming residents and prompting lawmakers to demand answers. Is a human sacrifice coming? Well, there's good news and bad news on the drone sightings front, but you probably won't like it. The good news is it's not aliens from outer space causing the stir. That's obvious at this point. But the bad news is it's not aliens from outer space, but behind the drone sightings, it's a psyop from the government. We'd be better off if it were aliens, because at least in that case, we would have a clearly defined adversary. But a psyop from some shadowy CIA-related, officially unavowed governmental program being run by the deep state, man, you can't trust anyone in that scenario. No one, not even Trump. And in Acts chapter 23, verse 13, it says, and there were more than 40 which had made this conspiracy. I'm not saying that Donald Trump is involved with this. I think that, that he knows more. I said that the other day. I think he knows more than he is disclosing. And the big question that I had for the audience the other day is, where is Elon Musk on all of this? He has not said one thing about the drones, and he has a program called SpaceX. Now, the article and podcast that nowtheendbegins.com revealed the other day has ties that trace to Elon Musk and has ties to trace to J.D. Vance, believe it or not, as the CEO of PayPal. Okay, they have another company, and I'm going to show you this. Just a minute or two of this clip. Okay, I'll just play it so you can hear it. The company, this is the company that's probably behind this. What am I saying about J.D. Vance is that back in, it was a couple of years ago, they were endorsing J.D. Vance, and they contributed to his campaign with money, okay? It was like $15 million. So there's ties to this company from PayPal. PayPal is involved in another company, and this is the company that I'm going to bring up, okay? Let me grab this really fast for you. Okay, one second. It's Palantir. Okay, Palantir is a company that has this incredible drone technology. Now, I'm not, for the sake of time, I'm not going to go over the whole thing because I'm droned out on this. But basically, this is what you're seeing in the sky from Palantir. And Palantir had a promo on the pyro billboard of the Army-Navy football game last Saturday that Trump, J.D. Vance, Elon Musk, and all the rest of the important people were attending the game. And it was on the pyro, the Palantir advertisement. And so this is really incredible. And you know what else too? These drones are flying from a ship. And that's right on the pyro. And I'm like, man, I never watched it. But anyway, let me have you have a listen to this. And I'm going to drop this link in the chat room, okay, while I'm playing it. So here we go. Give me 1 second here. Get this ready.
In modern warfare, reliance on GPS technology can be a fatal flaw. As we've seen on the battlefield, even the most advanced AI-powered drones can become lost or compromised when facing sophisticated electronic warfare. But what if there was a solution that could keep drones on target, even in GPS-denied environments? Join us as we dive into how Palantir's visual navigation, VNav technology, could revolutionize drone operations, ensuring they navigate with precision even when conventional systems fail. Welcome back to our channel. Today we're exploring a pressing issue in modern warfare, the unreliability of GPS technology on the battlefield. In recent reports, including insights from the Wall Street Journal, we've learned that US-made drones are struggling to overcome Russian jamming and GPS blackout technology. It's a stark reminder that GPS signals can be jammed, spoofed, or completely denied, leaving drones vulnerable in combat situations. Advanced electronic warfare capabilities can easily disrupt these signals, leading to drones losing their way or even worse, falling into enemy hands. Using radio control to operate drones in these scenarios is equally risky. It's easily detectable, which can expose operators to enemy attacks. But here's where things get interesting. What if drones didn't need GPS at all? That's where VNav comes in. To address these challenges, Palantir has developed visual navigation, or VNav. This groundbreaking technology allows drones to operate autonomously in GPS-compromised areas. By utilizing onboard intelligence and software, VNav enables drones to navigate accurately without relying on GPS or radio control. It does this through a simple camera and onboard compute, comparing the drone's position against satellite imagery. This capability gives drones enhanced mission flexibility, allowing them to operate in environments where GPS is not just unreliable, but completely unavailable. Think urban canyons, dense forests, or even inside buildings. For missions involving reconnaissance, surveillance, or deliveries, the ability to navigate through varied terrains without relying on external signals can be a game changer. And there's more. The cost efficiency of VNav could change how drones are used across industries. Palantir has partnered with Flyby Robotics to showcase the power of VNav. Their F-11 drone model integrates seamlessly with this technology, ensuring operational compliance and reliability. Palantir has spent years developing products at the intersection of computer...
I'm going to pause it there, but this is it, guys and gals. This is what we're seeing in the skies, okay? There is a portion of our government that is not telling us exactly what's going on, but here's where we want to, part of what God is doing, and this is going to be the theme throughout this evening's video. Here's what God is doing. Listen to this, okay? And I read this the other day, but I'm going to move on after I read this to you. This is Zechariah chapter 5, verse 2 and following. God speaks to Zechariah, and he says to Zechariah, "What seest thou?" And I answered, "I see a flying roll. The length thereof is 20 cubits, and the breadth thereof is 10 cubits. So it's like 30 feet long by, 30 feet by 20 feet, something like that. Let me explain this to you. A roll, a scroll, it's a scroll that's rolled up, so it's called a roll. Now, the interesting thing about this roll here that we're going to read is that it has information on both sides of the roll, on this side and on this side. So what is that? What is the telltale? The telltale is that this roll is packed with intel. This roll documents information. This roll is quite interesting, and this roll flies, okay? And God says to Zechariah about this flying roll, it's a mystery. He says, this is the curse that goeth forth over the face of the whole earth. For everyone that seeth shall be cut off on this side according to the roll, and on the other side, the one that sweareth everyone that sweareth shall be cut off on the other side according to it. I will bring it forth, saith the Lord of hosts, and it shall enter into the house of the thief, and into the house of him that sweareth falsely by my name, and it shall remain in the midst of his house, and shall consume it with the timber thereof and the stones thereof. So let me just cut to the chase here. If this is, and I think it is, I mean, this is open to interpretation. I think that this is definitely a prophecy of what we're seeing now, but this gets more interesting. It's going to go over the face of the whole earth, and I believe as the ministry, nowtheendbegins.com, tuned some people into, that this is probably the start of the mark of the beast system. Now, the beast is not here yet. The Antichrist can't come forward as far as his role until the church is removed. But everything is being put into place right now for it. How would the mark of the beast system be enforced? Well, everybody has to be monitored. Intel, it's an intel gathering, and that's what these drones do. When they fly at night like this, they are gathering intel. So it's a test run. Understand? It's a test run. So I sent 2 articles to you that you can look at. The one from nowtheendbegins.com today, and this Palantir AI-powered drone technology. And the video on that's about just over 9 minutes long. It's not very long. So look, they can cover things up as much as they want to, just like what happened with COVID and the vaccinations. But smart people end up figuring out what's going on. Even when the truth is they attempt to conceal the truth comes out, okay? The Bible does say, everything that's darkness shall be brought to light. So, the church is still here, the Holy Spirit is still with us, and so there's a lot of smart people that figure these things out. It's only a matter of time, Scary, but exciting in some ways, Ronnie, absolutely. I mean, the way I look at this as a Christian, I feel like we are honored in this generation to be alive, to see all of these things coming to pass, and exciting but scary. I mean, it's scary, but everybody eventually expires on this earth, we all die someday. So imagine being the generation that we have the prospect of a pre-tribulation rapture. I mean, that's the exciting part to me. And believe me, when these articles started coming out on Now the End Begins, there were post-tribulation people and anti-Trump people, by the way, saying he was Hitler and all that. I had a good time with them. But I mean, they all come out of the woodworks because they can feel it. They can feel that we're getting inching closer to the time of Jacob's trouble. And so they know, their theologies and doctrines are off, but they know, they can feel it, right? And they just happily come over to a ministry that believes in a pre-tribulation rapture, and they want to start lecturing us about how we're all going to get our heads cut off and everything, So yeah, I have fun with them. So anyway, there's that article. Now let's move on to something else, okay? Let me move on to, give me 1 second here. All right. In the video yesterday, in the video day before yesterday, I mentioned that in this Bible study today, we'd be talking about Proverbs chapter 6, but also, what is God doing? Everybody's got their boots on the ground. We see everything that's happening, but are we going to get into the scriptures and go up a little higher and see what God's doing? I recommend for everybody, you go to the Bible, you go up to where God's up here, and then you start to analyze everything from the top down. Don't look at everything on the ground, on the boots on the ground, and then start looking up this way, okay? Because there's a lot of static. Start with the scriptures, and then you can look down and see. And that's the way we should be doing it, okay? So I'm going to play this clip for you, And then I'm going to show you what God is doing, okay? So let me play this next clip. What this next clip is, okay, 1 second here. Okay, this was from yesterday, and it's that show called The Five on Fox News. You know, where they all sit around and talk about everything. You know, they're the people with the boots on the ground. They don't look at the scriptures, okay? But what I'm going to do is I'm going to take you from their boots on the ground, and then we're going to go up high. We're going to go up high to the scriptures, and we're going to look down, which they never do that, but we will, okay? So we will know more of the big picture than they do, and no diss on them, no disrespect to the five people. They're smart individuals, but their boots are on the ground, okay? So this is what they say in this video before I play it. I'm going to just play a little bit of it, and I'm going to give you the video for this as well in the chat room. So this is what it says. Big Tech, this is their title, Big Tech is kissing the ring before Donald Trump takes office. Okay? Big Tech is kissing the ring of Donald Trump. Now, I want you to have a listen. This is fascinating. Then I'm going to take you to some scriptures, and it won't take me long. So watch this. Okay, you ready? 1 second here.
Well, look who's popular now. 8 years after stepping off that golden escalator and facing resistance at every turn, President-elect Trump is the talk of the town. Foreign leaders and tech CEOs are all scrambling to get a seat at Mar-a-Lago. Big names like Tim Cook, Mark Zuckerberg, and Jeff Bezos have either met with or will be meeting with the president-elect about his second term. And even Trump himself seemed surprised by the positive reaction.
I had dinner with sort of almost all of them, and the rest are coming. And this is one of the big differences, I think, between, we were talking about it before, one of the big differences between the first term. In the first term, everybody was fighting me. In this term, everybody wants to be my friend. I don't know.
Pay attention.
My personality changed or something.
There's a good reason why President-elect Trump is resonating with so many in the business community. At his core, the guy knows how to work a room. Even Stephanie Ruhle is giving him props for being more approachable than Joe and Kamala.
I called him and said I want an interview with you. Obviously, he said no. But my point is, I was able to get to him by dialing his phone. If I were to want to connect...
Okay, they're giving you the reasons right now. These people that hated Trump before are giving you the reasons now why they're happy he's back. He's more accessible. He's willing to have press conferences. He's willing to have interviews. He's willing to talk to the public. Completely the opposite of what the Biden-Harris administration was doing, obviously. I was listening to Trump's press conference at Mar-a-Lago as I was driving to and from town today. Everything that he said was common sense. All kinds of common sense. They would ask him questions. Nobody in that press room was ripping on him or making a bunch of false accusations. But they asked him very important questions. Now, this is one that I really want to, okay, I mean, goodness. I would love to play it for you, but it's like an hour, and I'm not going to do that to all of you, okay, because this is going to be a Bible study tonight. But basically, we're going to become energy independent again quickly, okay? This is something interesting that Trump answered one of the reporter's questions regarding all of the dumpster fires we have around the world. He feels that the Russia-Ukraine war will probably be the most difficult one to solve. And he said that it'll be much easier, pay attention, much easier to solve the Middle East crisis than the Russia-Ukraine war. Are you kidding me? That one has been a struggle for decades. Okay? And listen to this. This is the kicker, and then I'm going to take you to a passage of scripture, and then we're going to move on to Proverbs 6, okay? This to me was, I mean, for Christians who are paying attention, this to me just got my attention like that, okay? They asked him about a call with Netanyahu, okay? And he said the call went very well, but obviously I can't do anything right now. But he said on day 1, January 20th, day 1, I have a call scheduled with Benjamin Netanyahu to start working on solving the Middle East crisis. You want to talk about Operation Warp Speed? I'm not talking about the vaccination clot shot. I'm talking about Operation Warp Speed for what's going to happen in the Middle East. And he thinks this is going to be easier to solve than the Russia-Ukraine conflict. Now, you have these people that are boots on the ground, like the Five on Fox News, and even in the press conference, they have their boots are all on the ground, okay? They don't look at the scriptures. They're not like you and I, where we're in the scriptures and we're up here and then we look down. Because, listen, there's a good reason why we do what we do, and even people that go to church are tempted to do this, and I get tempted all the time to do it, is we look at everything from boots on the ground, and then we decide, oh, well, maybe I'll read a few scriptures today. Instead of entering the Bible with a mindset of, God, what's happening here? What is this? Oh, I remember you mentioned Jerusalem in Zechariah chapter 12. You know? So, speaking of that, let me take you to a couple of scriptures, and then we're going to look at Proverbs 6, okay? Let me take you to, all right, first of all, let me take you to this. Okay, now, remember what I said about how important that answer was about having a phone call. That was one of the very first things that Trump is going to do on day 1. He's going to be signing executive orders just like Joe Biden did, you know, like destroying our country on day 1. Well, he's going to restore our country on day 1. He's going to try to block all of that stuff going on, lawsuits with the Biden administration selling off border wall. They talked a lot about the border wall. He's got these countries already right now. Like, it's so different than the Biden administration. Goodness, when I was listening to it, how Canada wants to play ball, Mexico wants to play ball. And he said that China was like the most important partner that he's going to have to help straighten out what he called the world's problems, okay? Well, that's the boots on the ground, finite mind, intelligent thinking. But, you know, when we're in the scriptures, we know who is going to sort out all of the world's problems. It's Jesus Christ himself, okay? We know that. We absolutely know that. He's coming back to this earth to sort out everything. But it's not going to be a human that does it, okay? Now, day 1, Benjamin Netanyahu phone call. One of other many things, but that's a huge one. All right, I had a Bible study recently in Isaiah chapter 44 and verse 28. It's very brief. I went into it in more detail back then, but I had mentioned this, that Israel looks at Donald Trump as a type of Cyrus. For those of you who don't know, Cyrus he was a Gentile Persian king. That Gentile Persian king was he was God's man. He was God's shepherd. He was God's instrument to get things done that he wanted to get done for Israel and everything else around that part of the world at the time. And so I'm telling the audience tonight, if you want to rise above the static and you want to know where we're going, let me read Isaiah chapter 44 and verse 28 to you now. What has happened in the past will happen again. There's nothing new under the sun. Ecclesiastes chapter 1 verse 9. Okay. That saith of Cyrus, Isaiah 44:28. He is my shepherd, and shall perform all my pleasure, even saying to Jerusalem, thou shalt be built, and to the temple, thy foundation shall be laid. You know what that tells me if history repeats itself, like Solomon saying? It means that Donald Trump is going to allow Israel to rebuild their third temple. It's going to be a repeat. Okay? Why is it? Let me give you another passage of scripture. Okay? I didn't have this one prepared, but I will now. Okay. Let me give you Isaiah chapter 45. And I appreciate everybody's patience. I'm going to try to stay focused on this as much as possible because it's so important what we're seeing. And I'm trying to help everybody get a more clear perspective about what God is getting ready or has been doing. So watch this, okay? If we can compare Donald Trump to that Cyrus from the past, if there is a mirror image of it, just like Elijah was a mirror of John the Baptist, preparing the way of the Lord, okay? Elijah's coming back to prepare the way of the Lord for the second coming. John the Baptist prepared the way of the Lord for the first coming. So they're a mirror of each other, understand? Well, this is what we're seeing with Cyrus from the past in what Israel calls a mirror of Cyrus in the past. They have a coin with Trump and Cyrus on both together. They love Trump, okay? Watch this. Thus saith the Lord, this is Isaiah 45, verse 1. Thus saith the Lord to his anointed Cyrus, whose right hand I have holden. Now watch this. You saw that clip of the 5, right? How everybody's coming to kiss the ring of Donald Trump now. Watch this. I have holden to subdue nations before him, and I will loose the loins of kings, to open before him the 2 left gates, and the gates shall not be shut. God says, I will go before thee and make the crooked places straight. I will break in pieces the gates of brass and cut in sunder the bars of iron. Verse 3, and I will give thee the treasures of darkness and hidden riches of secret places. Bitcoin? I don't know. Okay? That thou mayest know that I, the Lord, which call thee by thy name, am the God of Israel. And I can go on and on and on about this. There's scriptures for days, the comparisons here, but I'm just giving you snippets. So what am I saying here is God is going to make the crooked places straight for Donald Trump. Why? Why? I'm going to take you to the next. I'm going to answer that question right here with Zechariah chapter 12, verses 2 and 3. You want to know why? You want to know why? Is it to make America great again? I would love that to happen, but the Bible has to be fulfilled. Prophecy has to be fulfilled. So it's bigger than that, okay? This is what God says about Jerusalem, and that's what's going to happen in the next probably 1 to 2 years. I'm going to say that. Hope y'all are enjoying this. I'm trying to stay focused, okay? This is some deep stuff, and I'm only scratching the surface, and I mean, you all can go on your treasure hunts after you're done with this video tonight, because look, there is a lot more that God has to say about this, that I'm only scratching the surface here. But the principles are in order, okay? The principles are in order, and then you can take this and run with it. Behold, I will make Jerusalem a cup of trembling unto all people round about, when they shall be in the siege both against Judah and Jerusalem. And in that day I will make Jerusalem a burdensome stone for all people. For the Middle East? No, for all people. And all that burden themselves with it, including America, shall be cut in pieces, though all people of the earth be gathered together against it. Thank you, Lydia. Sometimes it's not easy because there's important points that I have to remember in my mind to bring it out now, because I might forget, and so I need help with prayer. Sometimes of that, because I will have a Bible study, and then sometimes I will go, I forgot to mention this important point. So that's where like prayer comes in. By the way, for other ministries that are doing amazing work, pray for them before they start to speak, because they need that. Okay? If you have a local church, pray for that pastor. You know, they need that prayer, right? They really need the support, and that's what you've got to do. Prayer is so powerful and so important. Now, I want to give you, what is Jerusalem, what is this Zechariah chapter 12 and verses 2 and 3 got to do with Cyrus, right? And the other passage that I gave you. Well, first of all, let me make this very well known to an audience that doesn't understand or know about this. And I think Christians are going to know, but he's not very happy with the world right now. God is not. Abomination after abomination, mocking God, transgenderism, and just every wicked thing under the sun, okay? Well, just like the days of Noah. There has to be an account. There's a day coming for an account. How is that going to happen? So what we're seeing here, we're up here in the scriptures, we look down, okay? God has to put all of this together for an accountability day someday, okay? So how do we get there? How do we get there? It's a dragnet. Let me give you the definition of a dragnet, okay? This is what a dragnet is. A dragnet is any system of coordinated measures for apprehending criminals or suspects, including road barricades, traffic stops, widespread DNA tests, and general increased police alertness. The term derives from a fishing technique of dragging a fishing net across the sea bottom or through a promising area of open water. So God is going to be performing a dragnet. The dragnet is messing with the blood covenant in Jerusalem and Israel, okay? So God is this is what he does, okay? When he has to take up something with a nation or many people, he draws them into Israel, okay? We read about that example in Ezekiel chapter 38 and 39. When God is angry with a people or a nation or nations, he says, okay, I'm going to lay out a trap, okay? And the scriptures are wide open for anybody with a third grade intelligence. Discernment, that's another story, okay? But like, there are clear warnings not to touch Israel or Jerusalem. That's for everybody, every Muslim, every Jew-hating person in the world to know and read, and politicians too. It's for everybody. It's all there, open reading, you know? And so do you want to ignore the warnings? Do it at your own peril. But God is going to draw his enemies in to Jerusalem, okay? And he needs the right people in place for that to happen. That is what we're going to see in the next. And my estimates are just estimates, okay? I'm not going to tell you I know. I don't know a day or the hour when the rapture is going to happen or anything like that. But the fig tree generation, I was doing some math on this. Israel is now 76 years old. So we literally have like 4 years left of the generation, which Jesus used the fig tree as an example for Israel. That generation that would see this Israel reborn in 1948 would see everything that he mentioned fulfilled. Well, we literally have 4 years left, okay? So that's where my estimation comes from. This has to start happening in a rapid pace. So day one of inauguration day, Trump is going to have a call with Benjamin Netanyahu. Watch out, guys and gals. I mean, for those of you Christians who know your Bibles, all roads lead to Jerusalem. Now, let's go over to Proverbs chapter 6. I promised to cover some of this for you, and this is really interesting. I probably will do only half of this today, okay? Because for time's sake, I will pick up the other half of Proverbs chapter 6 tomorrow. Because there's a lot of information that I've given you, and I don't like to be on for 2 hours. I don't even like being on for 1 hour. I like to give you something to think about so that you can consider what was said and let God speak to you about it, okay? But watch this in Proverbs chapter 6. The first section of Proverbs chapter 6 is about having agreements or covenants or what? Maybe a peace deal, peace and security, peace and safety. Remember what I mentioned that a lot of ministries are not telling you? They use this phrase a lot because they know before the rapture, when they cry peace and safety, then sudden destruction cometh upon them. We all know that, right? But how many people are telling you right now that the world is entering into a very short season of peace and safety, peace and prosperity, peace and security? You know what Donald Trump's meeting was, with all of the journalists over at Mar-a-Lago yesterday? Peace and safety, peace and prosperity for America, for Israel, for Russia, for Ukraine, for everybody. Peace and safety, peace and security, peace, peace, peace. I can get along with G. I can make a deal with him. It's better if we get together and work this out, right? And guess what? Everybody, just like I read to you about Cyrus, God is making all of those iron bars that are just, you can't get out. It's impossible. God is going to make it possible for a very short season to accomplish what he is setting a trap for his enemies for. Proverbs 6. This is for Israel. I don't know, right? Because this is a very basic principle. When you make a deal with somebody, with a stranger, my son, if thou be surety for thy friend, if thou hast stricken thy hand with a stranger, if you've made a deal with a stranger, Israel, you're going to be making a deal someday, and you better be very closely paying attention to this deal. I am not telling you to give half of Jerusalem, and I know many Israelis are against that. But there's going to be a carrot on a stick for peace and safety, peace and security, peace and prosperity, all of it. And you have had war for decades, ever since your rebirth, and you're going to go, oh God, I would love to have that. That's exactly what we want. All we want is peace and safety. All we want is peace. But you're offering prosperity too? My son, if thou be surety for thy friend, if thou hast stricken thy hand with a stranger, thou art snared with the words of thy mouth and art taken with the words of thy mouth. There's going to be people coming along with very fancy words saying, if you do this, if you do this, if you do this, it's a snare, it's a trap. Do this now, my son, and deliver thyself. When thou art come into the hand of thy friend, go and humble thyself and make sure thy friend. Give not sleep to thine eyes, nor slumber to thine eyelids. Deliver thyself as a roe from the hand of the hunter, and as a bird from the hand of the fowler. Now, that to me is, you can take this, and it's God saying to everybody, don't make deals with strangers you don't know about. You don't want to, if you have a ministry, you got to be very careful, or a church, before a church lets a member become a member unless you know them first, right? So you got to get to know them first. And so you don't want to make business deals with people that just you met yesterday. Let's see what happens in Israel. But I'm just saying, this is like a basic principle, but this principle is a truth for big deals. Big deals too. The Antichrist will be a stranger someday, coming along, confirming a deal and changing it to the way he wants. And this is a warning for Israel. Now, this portion of Proverbs chapter 6 is for the church. I'm going to say this is for everybody, but I want to give this message to the church now. Verse 6, go to the ant, you sluggard. In other words, you lazy person. Consider her ways and be wise of the ant, which having no guide, overseer, or ruler, provideth her meat in the summer, and gathereth her food in the harvest. How long wilt thou sleep, O sluggard? When wilt thou arise out of thy sleep? Yet a little sleep, and a little slumber, and a little folding of the hands to sleep, right? Sleep. I'm tired today. I think I'm going to eat a cheeseburger. I'm going to have pizza for dinner before I go to bed, Or I'm going to drink a lot of alcohol before I go to bed. And then you wake up with a hangover and you've got heartburn. And you're lazy. You just can't get up. You got no energy because you've made bad food choices and everything, right? And it causes you to be lazy. Young people, the same thing for you too. You're not going to be young forever. You're going to have energy for days, right? It makes you lazy. But like God is saying, wake up, lazy person, and go to work. Start in the church. It's time to wake up. It's time to understand where you are. It's time to do something for God. It's time to, if only thing you can do, if somebody's in a rest home and they're a Christian and they're stuck there for the rest of their life, whatever days they have, they can at least pray, can't they? For somebody else. Start learning to be a servant instead of having your hand out all the time. I've had so many people in churches, Christians, and especially on Facebook, and especially in other parts of the world where I've met people, they're like this to me all the time. And God is not saying that you have to say yes to everybody all the time. There is such a thing as a hand up, and there is times for a hand out. I'm not saying to be stingy or greedy or anything like that, but I mean, these lazy people need to learn how to get off of their pity parties and start learning how to manage their life, okay? And God is scolding lazy people here. Verse 12, a naughty person, a wicked man, walketh with a forward mouth. Do we have a lot of people in our government doing that right now, talking about these drones, and they're in complete denial of what we're all seeing? He winketh with his eyes, he speaketh with his feet, and he teacheth with his fingers. There's nothing to see here, right? Nothing to see here. Forwardness in his heart, he deviseth mischief continually, he soweth discord. Therefore shall his calamity come suddenly, suddenly he shall be broken without remedy. Okay, I am going to stop on verse 15. Now, verses 16 through 35, we will pick up tomorrow. They're very important verses. But like I said, I want to constrain the time here for you, okay? Because I respect everybody's time. If you, and before I close and shut this video down for the night, there might be somebody out there, two groups of people, right? There's the Christian who, and I was at this point in my life at one time where I felt like, you know, like, I'm not ready to meet God. I'm not ready to meet the Lord. And I would love to be a Christian, but I've tried and it just doesn't work for me. You know, I believe what Jesus did, but there's no way I can do it. It's impossible. My lifestyle, it's impossible. I can't, you know, and you're afraid. You're afraid of the future because you know that a lot of what I'm saying is making sense. Not everybody, because there are people who want to argue with me all day long, but there is a lot of people who will say it makes sense, but there's literally nothing I can do about it, you know. And what I want to tell to that group of people is that I was in your position when I was, oh goodness, when I was a teenager around 16, 17, 18 years old, and I had all that pressure of, I was not a partier. I was more of an athlete. I love sports. My physical that I just had recently, the natural holistic doctor said, you're in incredible condition for your age. It's pretty amazing. I don't see too many guys like you. And I said, well, I kind of learned I'm not bench pressing 250 pounds or 285 pounds anymore. And I don't want to get arthritis lifting too many, you know, like real heavy weights like I used to. But I said, I do a lot of preventive maintenance and I eat healthy and I make healthy food choices. And so I can tell. So like, you know, I was where some of you were when you were teenagers. And when I learned about Jesus, right, I got saved at 12. I thought to myself the same, like, and I've met middle-aged people tell me the same thing, like, I can't do it. I am going to, when I meet God, he is going to throw me away because I'm too evil. I'm too, you know, bad and stuff like that. And I can only remind you or tell you that Jesus gave a parable about a person like you. There were two people in the temple to pray, and one was a tax collector who was a sinner, and the other one was a Pharisee. And the Pharisee said, God, I am so glad I'm not like that tax collector over there, you know. I give tithes, I do this, and I do this, and I do this. And you know, you think that that's how you have to be. Like, you have to keep all of these rules, okay? And that tax collector is beating his chest, saying, God, forgive me, I'm a sinner, you know. And Jesus said, I tell you that that man went home justified. The tax collector did, because he knew he was a sinner. He knew he was wrong. And God said he knew he was a sinner. He was justified. In other words, God knows you're a work in progress, okay? He is not going to throw you away. And so it took me some time to realize that. I thought I need to keep all these rules. Paul tells us that the law is a schoolmaster that leads us to Jesus, okay? Because Jesus did all the works for us. Does it mean that I want to deliberately go out and sin? No, it doesn't mean that at all. But I could never get to heaven on my own works. And I try to help people with that all the time. So you have that group of people. You will have an epiphany someday. Even if you don't understand it now, God will give it to you because he's faithful. All right? I'm going to shut this thing down in a minute, but he is faithful. He will not shut down on you. He will stay with you, and he will show you how much that he loves you and cares about you, okay? Not just me. He does it for everybody that's willing to acknowledge that, look, I've fallen short. I know it, okay? Just take hold of Jesus. That's it. Take hold of him. Now, there is this other group of people that don't know about him at all because they grew up in a family that didn't know or learn about him. They know of him, but they don't know about him. There's a big difference. And so what I want to tell you, if I've scared some people with this, because I feel like the church has a shelf life of about 2 years left. Could I be wrong? Yes, but I'm just looking at this as a Bible student in Scripture, and I ask God to help me, and I know from the timeline of this generation, Psalm 90:10, 70 to 80 years from Israel's rebirth. Like we literally have like 4 years left of this generation. And so I'm like, okay, well, how is this? And look, Operation Warp Speed, not the vaccination, but like day one, Trump is going to start talking to Netanyahu about a deal. And everybody, like I said, in about Cyrus, God says, I am going to remove those iron bars. And Cyrus, you're my man. Nothing is going to stand in your way. You're going to get it all done. Why? Because time is running out. Okay? A very short season of peace and prosperity, peace and safety. Very short season. We're going to see it. But for those of you who don't know Jesus, it's so simple. It's like this. 1 Corinthians chapter 15, verses 1 through 4. That's a great one. Everybody goes to it. I'm just going to tell you, Christ died for our sins. He was buried for 3 days, and he rose again on the third day. He sits at the right hand of the Father, and he's coming back to this earth again very soon. Literally, first for the church in the clouds, and then literally, physically, that everybody will see him on the earth 7 short years later. I was in Jerusalem about 1.5 years ago, and I saw, which I don't believe this was the correct location for where Jesus died and where he was buried. I think that he was probably buried somewhere else, but tradition says that he was buried. And those tombs, this is what's amazing about the tombs. And I'm gonna, maybe I'll talk about this in the future for the group, okay? But like, these tombs, Joseph of Arimathea, his tomb was given. There's a joke about that, right? The tomb was very expensive, okay? And he gave it for Jesus to be buried in his tomb. And so like the joke goes, his wife came to him and he says, you just gave away a very expensive tomb. And Joseph of Arimathea says, don't worry about it. We're going to get our tomb back in 3 days. Because he's going to rise on the third day. But anyway, I was in Jerusalem. I was in that fort, Roman fort, right, around the area there. And I saw these tombs. And my guide took me, the tombs are just enough to put one body into the tomb, and they close it down. And then what happens is, after about 5 or 6 years, something like that, they go and remove the bones, and the bones are placed up in what do you call it? Goodness, there's the name for it. It's just outside of Jerusalem, okay? It's up on a hill, and there's a big cemetery where they place the bones there for people because they literally believe in the resurrection there, and Jesus is going to place his feet there when he literally comes back. That's the first place he'll put his feet down, and it's right next to the Garden of Gethsemane. So it's like very close. I was in the Garden of Gethsemane. I went down the same path where Jesus took the donkey and went into Jerusalem. I was on that path. It was so cool. But what I'm saying for people that don't know Jesus is like, first of all, you believe what he did. And not only just believing what he did, but why did he do it? Why did he suffer and die on that cross, right? This was literally God that came down as a human being. There was nobody else qualified to do it, okay? Came down as a human. He's the only one qualified to die for your sins. For your sins. That's why he did it. To cover the punishment of your sins and mine. So when he did that, all he's asking you to do is to believe that he did it, right? And so since you understand now that your sins came at a very high price, what are you going to be, a spoiled brat kid and just take it and not say thank you? Don't be a spoiled brat adult or a senior or a kid and just take it. I mean, you can, okay, and God will start to work on you, but like, show some gratitude for what he did. Show gratitude, man. Come on, really? You're not going to die and you're not going to be in hell for eternity. That's pretty amazing. Okay, be grateful. Thank God for it. And when you pray and say, Lord, I believe that. I'm sorry for my sins. Please forgive me. Please write my name in the Lamb's Book of Life and remember me in your kingdom. Mount of Olives. Thank you very much, Debbie. Thank you. Mount of Olives. That's correct. And I want to send everybody some pictures of that later in another Bible study. It's pretty cool. But I will do that, absolutely. So it's so much, that was such a life-changing. You know what? Honestly, if I get the opportunity to go back, I will go. Because I could literally just go by myself or go with some friends, and I can rent a car because I know where to go now. And I would just immerse myself in everything and just sit there. I know where Jesus was tempted by the devil in the wilderness. I know that road out of Jericho. I went there and I filmed it, and I did post that film in Facebook. Like, this was a year and a half ago. I was in that area, and man, I was with people, so I couldn't stay. But I would rent the car, I would go there. If I get to go there next time, I am going to that location, and there's so many places I want to go if I get that chance. I may not. Like I said, things are going to be going so fast for the church now. And I'm committed to being with all of you on this. It's for the Christian who's awake. It's exciting. If you decided to give your life to him tonight, I hope that was your decision. For those of you who didn't know him, and why do I do this? It's because I want people to be saved. I want to help the church be informed, and I'm not the only one doing this. I'm not the only one. There's ministries, powerful ministries, that are doing it too. Not enough. Sad to say, not enough. Not Sinai, Lydia. It was just out of Jericho. It was the desert where Jesus, when he got baptized by John, went into the wilderness for 40 days and 40 nights and to be tempted by the devil. Mount Sinai is Galatians 4:25. It says it's in Arabia. So that's in Saudi Arabia. I was definitely planning to go, and I was going to take the risk to go. There was people that said they could get me in and out safely, but I really don't know now, because it's just something God would have to speak to me about if I would decide I want to go to Saudi Arabia, because it's dangerous, especially for Jews and Christians. Don't know if I want to do it, but I know where Mount Sinai is. I would love to go, but I don't know. Maybe I'll get to see it in a glorified body someday. I don't know. But I hope y'all enjoyed this. Erica says, I've been wanting to go to Israel, hopefully before the Lord returns. Erica, it's everything that you imagined it to be, and then some. I felt like I stepped back in time when I went to Nazareth. The road, now, my guide was telling me that some of those roads have been built up over the centuries, but down the same paths where Jesus walked, and I got to see where Mary received the message from Gabriel about, the Virgin Mary. I got to see that in Nazareth. I got to go on the Sea of Galilee and see where Jesus taught the Beatitudes and things like that. And walking along the beach of Galilee is beyond incredible if you're a Christian and can appreciate that. Oh man, I relish every single moment. My relatives have gone on to be with the Lord. They would have been envious of me doing that. They would have loved to have gone. I think I'm the only one that's done it. And man, when I was there, I was thinking about, I was 6 years old and my grandmother was telling me about this place, or my older sister, when I was 12, she's reading me about David and Goliath, and I was, I'm here now, right? It's so cool. So, all right, I am going to sign off. I thank everybody for spending some time with me. Maybe, ladies, maybe you will be able to go someday. Ask God, why not? Is it beyond his ability to permit you to go? He can give you the finances. He can give you the ability, give you everything. We're entering into, listen, it's going to be the straw house that on sinking sand. When the storm comes, it's going to crash. But there is going to be a season of peace and prosperity, peace and safety. There might be a window for you to go, obviously. And so I can go, but I just don't think it's safe enough to go right now. But I will if I get the chance. And so God bless all of you. Thank you very much for joining me. I'll see you tomorrow with the second half of Proverbs chapter 6. So have a wonderful night, okay? And most welcome for everybody. Thank you. Have a blessed night.